Tag alla. Hello everybody, and you're all very welcome to your German class on camera. Just to let you know that today's instruction will cover 3 classes of instruction, okay? So we're going to start by looking at der Brief, the letter, okay? So in your books, it's book 2, page 105, you have there a sample letter layout. And we're going to have a little look at that now. I've done it up here on the board for you. So the first thing you have is the date. So you put on the right hand corner of the letter, and you'll see this in the actual letter itself that you receive in the exam. You can use the format in that. So you've got your city or town here first. Do make sure to put a comma, that's important as well. Then you write den, then the number for the date, and the punct, the dot as well. And then your month must get a capital letter. So Juli there gets the capital J, and then your year after it, your full year, it's 2020. So when you're starting off and you want to say dear, obviously in English we just have one word dear, whether it's feminine or masculine. But when we have a feminine, if we have a female, we're writing to a female, we must say liebe for dear. So liebe is for Claudia, and if we're writing to a boy, Udo, lieber, we must use ER. Okay, so that's one of the important things to note there. Then when we start off, you'll notice here the W on V, that's V Gates, how are you? That's a typical first initial greeting that you can add in there. So the first letter there, V, you'll notice is a small letter, and that's typical in German. If you have a capital letter, that will be on nouns, so you'll use it, nouns will have the capital letter. Okay, so V Gates is how are you? Okay, you can then answer with mir geht's gut, I'm fine, okay, and then schönen Dank für deinen letzten Brief, and that's a number of different ways that you can open up your letter, okay, so that's many thanks for your last letter, für deinen, so be very careful here that you say deinen, because it's taking the accusative case. We've got für, remember that's one of the prepositions that takes the accusative, für, I'll just put there plus Akkusativ, deinen, and then my adjective letzt has to get the en as well, letzten Brief, okay? And before we look at the rest of the body of the letter, I'll just take you through an example of how you can sign off. Signing off with something like Grüß deine Eltern von mir, regards to your parents, or say hi to your parents from me. And then viele Grüße, best wishes, viele Grüße is that, best wishes. And then if you're signing off as a girl, remember to sign off as deine Jenny. If you're signing off as a boy, you'll sign off as dein. You leave out the deine or the E, and you sign off as dein. So dein Mark, for example. Okay? So that's just the body of it. They're just the bones of it rather, okay, of your letter. So in your book, there you'll see on the next page, 105, we've got, or 106, sorry, we've got lots of opening statements and middle, things that you can say in the middle of your letter, and also things that you can say when you're closing it, some closing statements. So looking at some of them here, some handy little ones are, the third one there, entschuldige meine Schreibfaulheit. That's a lovely way to say apologies for not writing sooner. Okay, that would be a nice one to put in there at the start. Then we have again there vielen Dank, that is schönen Dank. You could say vielen Dank für deinen letzten Brief. Say if you read in the letter that there was a surprise, they got some surprise, or you sent them something and it's a surprise, you could start with schönen Dank für deinen Brief mit der Überraschung. So it was probably your birthday and they've sent you a gift, and you could say many thanks for your letter with a surprise, or it could be some news that maybe their sister is having a baby or something like that, or they got a new job, something like that. So that they would work as possible letter openings. And what we'll go through later, but just to mention it to you now, is at the start, when you've written your first opening line, you should be able to add a little bit more where you're relating back to, you're referring to something that your pen pal has mentioned, and that will give you one of what we call the 5 discretionary marks. Okay, so if you add an extra little point. Like say for example they said, the letter read, from your pen pal read, we had a golden anniversary party for my grandparents. So you could say there, oh, das klingt toll, that sounds wonderful. Or maybe they're planning it. You could say, ah, goldene Hochzeit, das hört sich toll an. Something like that. But we will go through that later, but it's no harm for you to be aware that that type of thing is good to put here at the start. So, typical opening phrases there. When it comes to the middle, you could add little things like, imagine you're doing a project. Ich mache ein Projekt zum Thema Essen und Trinken in Deutschland, okay? And you want some information and you think your pen pal might be able to get it for you. You could say, würdest du mir bitte einen Gefallen tun? Would you please do me a favour? So that's there on page 107, things to say in the middle of the letter. Or maybe you have a plan, you're going to go abroad. Ich werde ins Ausland fahren. And you're telling them all up, they're telling you about it, or equally you're telling them, was hältst du von meinem Plan? What do you think of my plan? Okay. Another little useful one to put in is if you've mentioned something already, you can add it in again, like wie schon erwähnt, just if you're referring to it again, as already mentioned. Okay. Say if you were talking about living in Ireland, something like that. Okay, in Ireland leben, and you wanted to say the best thing about it is. That could be a good little one to put in the middle. Like again, adding a little bit of extra relevant comment. Das Beste daran ist das, and you put your ... But remember, when you write das, D-A-S-S, as the conjunction that, make sure that you've got a comma before the das. Okay, das Beste daran ist das, and that will put the verb at the end of the clause. So that's the another little middle expression that you can use. Another little one that's interesting to add also is where your pen pal might have said to you, oh, I've heard that there's a new group, a new music group in Ireland, a new band, and they're very popular. Ich habe das gehört. And then they want to know, is it correct? Stimmt das? You get that quite a lot. Is that correct? Or ist das richtig? So you could allude to that by saying, du hast richtig gehört das. You heard correctly that. And that'll be a good one to lead into that particular point. Okay, or maybe something has happened. Maybe they had an accident, or something happened to them, some little unfortunate experience. You could say, es tut mir leid für dich, das. I'm sorry for you that. And whatever happened, dass du einen Unfall gehabt hast, something like that. Okay, so there are just a couple of them there, as I say, that I wanted to go through with you. That things that you could say in the middle. So these would be statements, things to say in the middle of your letter. Then to finish off, possible letter endings. Okay, so they do require an appropriate closing statement here in the letter. So you could just say something very simple like, so jetzt mache ich Schluss. I'll finish up now. Something like that would work. Or ich muss jetzt Schluss machen, weil ich für meine Prüfungen pauken muss. Or meine Prüfung, if it's just one, I'll finish up now because I have to cram or work hard for my exams. And then something quite short if you want, bis dann mach's gut. Until then, take care. That's a nice little one. And then again, if they've mentioned in the letter that they have a test coming up or an exam, eine Klassenarbeit oder Prüfung, you could say viel Erfolg bei der Klassenarbeit oder viel Erfolg bei der Prüfung. Best of luck with the test, best of luck with the exam. Okay, or another nice little one that you could add in is, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. Ich drücke dir die Daumen. So ich drücke dir die Daumen. Okay, or maybe you want to say to them, keep your fingers crossed for me. That'll be halte mir die Daumen. Okay, so they're all very useful ones to use. And another nice little one, ich freue mich auf deine Antwort. I'm looking forward to your reply. Okay, so there are just a couple of, again, this is the introduction to the letter, show you the layout, then the opening phrases, opening statements, middle, things that you can say in the middle, and then closing statements. So you've got a good few of them there, and it's good to have a good store of them that you can use in your letter. The other important thing, and we're going to go over to this board now, is the question words in your letter, because you're going to have lots of questions. So question words: auf Deutsch sagt man Fragewörter. So these are question words. So chapter 15 in Complete German Grammar has all of those. So I'm just going to get that for you now. Okay, so, and I'll grab the blue pen, blue marker. So we start off with was. So was is the word for what. Okay, so was machst du gern in deiner Freizeit? That could be a question. So what do you like to do? So that's what. So what, was machst du gern in deiner Freizeit? What do you like to do in your free time? Was für, watch this one. It may look like it's what for, but it's actually what sort or what kind of, or what kinds of. So what kinds or sort of. Okay, so you get this quite a lot. That is commonly used, that one, was für. Then we have wann, when. Okay, wann fährst du in Urlaub, for example? When are you going on holiday? So it's really important to understand what these are, and then we'll be looking at the tenses later on. So warum is why. Now these are little questions that you get at the end of another question. So you'll have one question in the letter, and then will come warum, or you'll get warum nicht. So the warum is why, warum nicht, why not. Okay, so that's why not. Okay, the next one is wieso. So wieso is like why, it's like how come, why. So that's why or how come. Okay, so you can see there in your book something like wieso stehst du früh auf? Why do you get up early? You know, it's the summer holidays or something like that. Die Sommerferien. Wieso stehst du früh auf? So your verb will come straight after it, okay? So then wozu is what for. So watch that. You might look at the wo and think, well, wo is where, but be very careful. It's another one of those, like the was für up there. Wozu means for what purpose. Wozu, for what purpose. So for example, so it's for what purpose. So imagine your friend, your pen pal asks you, wozu benutzt du das Internet? Wozu benutzt du das Handy? What do you use the internet for? What do you use your mobile phone for? And so on. Then we have a set here. We've got wer, wen, wem, and then we wessen. These all denote who, okay? And they're linked to the cases. So wer is who when you're dealing with the nominative case. So I'm just going to put beside it nominative. As per the book, you can see it there in the book, nominative case, that's who. Wer hat die Fenster geputzt, for example. Who cleaned the windows? That's just an example, but in your letter, wer hast du, or wer hat, Entschuldigung, it could be who, well, you can come up with examples yourselves. Wer, who in the nominative case, okay? So you probably wouldn't actually use it really in the letter. You may have one or two examples. The wen is the next one, the common one. That is in the accusative. So that's who, okay? And that's in the accusative case. If you remember back to den, think of the en and den. Ich sehe den Mann. Wen hast du gesehen? Ich habe den Mann. So that's who did I see, or whom. You can use that as well. Wen hast du gesehen? Who did you see? Then we have wem. And that's again, if you think of the dative case, dem, mit dem Mann, and then mit dem Kind, the masculine and the neuter, that's whom. Okay? And that you will use with the verbs that take the dative case, and also with the prepositions that take the dative case. And equally, wen will be used with the prepositions that take the accusative case as well. So wem, for example, wem hilfst du? Who do you help? Like say if you're talking about voluntary work or something like that, or maybe you're talking about your siblings at home. Who do you help at home? Wem hilfst du? Wessen then is an interesting one. That means whose. As in ownership, not who is, whose. And that is used in the singular and plural. So for example, you can use it with singular nouns and in the plural. So wessen Bücher hast du? Whose books have you? Okay, or if it's singular, wessen Buch hast du? Or something like that. Okay, wessen Buch hast du gelesen? Whose book have you read? Something like that. So that's the singular and the plural. So it's the very same word that you use for both. Wie then is how. Okay, how. Then we have wie viel. So watch this. Wie viel is how much. Okay, how much. Vielleicht, wie viel Geld verdienst du pro Woche? How much money do you earn per week or per Stunde, per hour, something like that. So that's how much. Wie viele, how many? They might want to know, your pen pal is asking you, wie viele Hobbys hast du? How many hobbies have you? Wie viele Sportarten gibt es in Deutschland? How many types of sport are there in Germany? Wie lange is how long. Okay. Wie lange hast du in Deutschland verbracht? How long did you spend in Germany? Something like that. Then you've got this welcher, welche. So watch that. Welcher, welche, welches. Okay. So all of these denote which. Which or what. Like which or what types. Okay. So which is welcher. And you can see there in your book on page 85, the welcher is when it's masculine, okay, and it's in the nominative case. Welcher Wolkenkratzer ist der höchste, if you were to go for that one. Welche is which when it's feminine and plural. So watch that one. That's when it's feminine and plural. Okay. So I'm going to put F and PL there. Welches will be for a neuter noun. Okay, so it could be, they could be asking you what subject do you not like. Welches Fach hast du nicht gern? Something like that. So that's also which, but for a neuter noun. Then wo, remember, isn't who. So where over here, you may think it's where. That is who. Wo is where. And then we have woher is where from. So woher kommst du? Where, and then we have from. So woher, where does your friend come from? Woher kommt dein Freund oder deine Freundin? And then wohin, so the her denotes from and to wohin. So once you have a very good idea of what they mean, so after wie then, meaning how, we have wie viel, and that's how much. Wie viele, how many? So wie viel Taschengeld bekommst du pro Woche? Could be a typical question, pro Woche. How much do you, pocket money do you get per week? Wie viele then is where you're dealing with a countable number. How many? Wie viele Freunde hast du? Wie viele Sportarten gibt es in Irland? How many sports are there in Ireland? Then wie lange? How long? Wie lange hast du in Portugal oder in Italien oder in Deutschland verbracht? Something like that. Then welcher. So you're going to see here you've got welcher, welche, welches. All of those denote which, but of course it's all linked to the grammar. Welcher, which will be for masculine noun, welche will be for feminine and plural, and welches is for the neuter. Okay, so welches is for the neuter. And then wo is where, woher is where from. So be careful there, remember wo is where, not who. There, which we may think is where, that is actually who. So woher then is where from, woher kommt deine Freundin, where does your friend or girlfriend come from. Wohin is where to, okay? where to. Wohin fährst du diesen Sommer? Where are you travelling to in summer? So German puts the hin and the wo together. We put the to at the end. Okay? So that's all we're going to do for that first section. Join us in a few moments next time when we deal with section 2.